How you going, boys? Hybridge here, and welcome to my JARVAN guide. For those of you that do not know, I have one-trick JARVAN in the last 120 games, all the way to Challenger, and 1200 LP, top 150, just by playing JARVAN, and today I'm going to try to aim to transfer all that knowledge towards you guys, okay? So, first thing, I'm sure you guys have already noticed, looking at the match history, is that I only build one build, right? I only go one build, and that is the Eclipse Sun Sky build. I know some of you guys have watched the itemization video and been like, why do you only go one build? Aren't there 3 builds you can go here? And the answer is, there are 3 builds you can go. But when I was trying to grind JARVAN, I looked at the best JARVAN players on the server. I realized Phaedra, who is pretty much a JARVAN main, he only built Eclipse Sun Sky in every single game. So I was like, okay, maybe let me give that a try. Maybe Eclipse Sun Sky is just that broken in solo queue that you have to build it every game. And you know what I noticed? It's actually true. Eclipse Sun Sky is just way better than all the other builds. And I would go Eclipse Sun Sky every game, regardless of the team comp, okay? So that's just what I found has worked for me. And as you can see here, I've got a pretty nasty win rate in the last 30 games. I got a 67% win rate on JARVAN, all the way in Challenger, right? So this is a hard feat to achieve. So I do think it's a testament that Eclipse Sun Sky is just that good of a build, okay? Now, what runes do I go? I go Conqueror, and I also go, but this might be something that most people don't like, I don't go Cut Down, I go Coup de Grace. And the reason why I go Coup de Grace, even though I know players like Agron love going Cut Down, the reason why I prefer Coup de Grace is because it's better ganking potential. You can kill lower HP targets, you can dive them way easier, and sure, Cut Down might be more effective in the all-out skirmish. I think the early prowess of Coup de Grace is significantly more important, because once you get the Eclipse Sun Sky, the Cut Down rune doesn't really even matter that much. You're already super strong, you don't need to have more strength, you know? Whereas you kind of need Coup de Grace to be a bit more useful in the early game, okay? So, how do you build out the Eclipse Sun Sky build? First item Eclipse, second item Sun Sky. Third item, usually boots. You can go Mercs if you're playing against heavy AP or CC. You can go Plated Steel Caps if you're playing against heavy AD. Now, third item. Two common items you go, either Frozen Heart or Spirit Visage. If you're playing against heavy AP comp, you go Spirit Visage. Playing against a heavy AD comp, you go Frozen Heart. Alternative item you can go is Thorn Mail, okay? So you go Thorn Mail when Frozen Heart is not useful. So let's say if you're playing against an Ezreal, where the attack speed nerf doesn't do anything from Frozen Heart, then you go Thorn Mail. Alternatively, if you're playing against a lot of healing, Thorn Mail third can also be used in those situations. Okay, so you should have 4 items here: Eclipse, Sun Sky, either Frozen Heart or Thorn Mail, and Spirit Visage. Last item, which one should you go? My favorite, GA. I think GA is the most broken late game item in the game. You always have to go it. Now, let's say if GA is on cooldown, what items can you choose? Randuin's if you're playing against crit, Kanik if you're playing against heavy AP, Abyssal Mask if your team has a lot of AP and you're playing against heavy AP, and lastly you can go Serpent's Fang if you're playing against heavy shielding as well. Now that's all it is with the setup. Let's move on. Now into abilities. So JARVAN's abilities are very simple. We're just going to speedrun them, okay? So your passive gives your auto attack current health physical damage every 6 seconds. So you can see the 6-second cooldown on it. If you hit it once, that's 261 damage. If you hit your normal auto, that's 184. But once the little yellow circle runs out, you can hit it again and again. It does more damage, okay? Now, your Q is a javelin toss, and what it does is an AoE spear that does damage, except not only does it do that, it also shreds armor. Now, the amount of armor it reduces scales on what level the Q is level to. So this is why you want to max Q, so you can shred more armor. Your W is just a shield. If you add a slow, so it slows everyone around you and it shields you. Now, the more people you slow around you, it gives you a bigger shield, but the shield is it's not that big, you know, it's just kind of like there. It's the slow is what you're really after. So you can see here, even if I have 2 people in my slow, it only shields me a bit more than, let's say, as if it was just 1 person, okay? Your E is kind of important. It gives you vision in the bush. So let's say I can face check a bush with my E, and it gives vision of it. Also, it gives me bonus attack speed if I'm sitting around it. So you can see here I have 1.07 attack speed. Now I've only got 0.94. Okay, so your E gives attack speed to people around it, and it also allows you to face check bushes very easily. And yeah, your ult is pretty much just a closure spell. It's like Camille ult, but think about AoE. And what it can do is it can force people to come in here. So you can see if I ult like this, it forces this target enemy to join here. So you can see here again, if I ult like this, it forces them to stay there, and they can't really leave unless they have ult, they have flashes or dashes. So it's not Camille ult in that sense, but you get what I mean. It's like a lockdown spell. If they have no, it's very useful against no mobility champions, which is kind of why, if you're not playing it for the damage, you really want to use it on champions that don't have too many dashes, like Jinx, Varus, Twitch, these sort of champions. It's a complete counter towards them. Now, let's talk about JARVAN's combos. The most common combo I'm sure all of you guys know is the EQ combo. So pretty much if you combine your flag and combine your spear, you get a dash and it knocks up targets in between. There's a few kind of mechanics you can do around it. So I've got my friend Harbo, and I'll show you. So if I normal EQ him, it's very easy for him to flash it. So just flash this, right? So if I EQ you, he can flash it very easily. Now, if I do it from further away and I go EQ flash, he has no chance to react to it. So that's why what you can do on JARVAN is you can go EQ, and before it ends, you flash. So what this does is it takes away all the damage from your EQ. So you can see here, if I EQ flash, it doesn't do damage, but it allows you to get that crucial CC onto someone, which allows you to maybe get your full combo off. So for example here, if I'm going to try to do it, right, I can go EQ flash ult, I can get my full combo off. Whereas if I was to normally try to do it, right, he can just EQ, he can just flash this very easily, you know? So that's kind of one mechanic you want to know. The second mechanic you want to know on JARVAN is that you can cancel your EQ. So you don't have to go through the entire animation and just do a max damage combo. So what this does is it doesn't allow you to get your CC off, but allows you to get top damage off. So you can see here, if I go EQ, I can cancel my knock-up, my animation, but get the most damage off. So you can see here again, I'll just go Q and ult. Now, what this does is it gives you more damage in a short amount of time, but takes away the knock-up, which is, I guess, kind of important, right? If you want to keep your damage and you want to gap close, let's say if this wasn't a LeBlanc, right, and I just want to gap close and I wasn't worried about him flashing my combo, you shouldn't go EQ flash, because this doesn't do damage, right? You're not getting any damage off it. Instead, what you should do is you should go flash EQ, because that way you get to preserve the damage and still get the CC off on him, right? Whereas in the EQ flash, you only knock him up. So those are kind of the main combos with JARVAN. Sometimes what you want to do as well, let's say if the enemy is very strong and you just want to CC them, is you can do ult, auto, and then you can EQ out so he can't chase me anymore, you know? So you just want to lock him in there with your ult, EQ out, and then that way they can't chase you in there and your team can just land follow-up damage while you're not at risk of taking any damage yourself. Okay, another thing about JARVAN is that you can also cancel certain dashes. So let's say, for example, the LeBlanc W, you can actually cancel it with your W. So 3, 2, 1. Like that. And you can just cancel a LeBlanc dash. This also works on certain champions like Echo, Camille, and Belveth. So it works on all these champions. It just is a good way to kind of counteract these dash champions. You should struggle against with your gap close. By cancelling their dashes, you kind of negate it. Obviously, it requires pretty good timing. But if you can predict when the enemy is going to dash, then it's obviously an easy thing to do and allows you to CC lock them. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the early game. So in my opinion, JARVAN's early game, very, very simple. The way you play it, full clear, gank, full clear, objective. Okay, so just give it a look right here. I promise you it's very, very simple. So you can see I'm clearing here. That's my, my keyboard nearly fell off. Full clear, full clear, full clear. Get a gank off, right? We get a good dive off. Go for the skull crab, reset. And then what do? Yeah, you got it right. Full clear, full clear, full clear. Go for the Drake on my after my second clear. And boom. That's how you want to play out the early game. First 7 minutes of the game. That's super easy. Full clear, make a gank. Full clear again, make a Drake. Okay, it is the easiest way you can play out the early game. That's all you have to do. What I don't want you guys doing on JARVAN, a very common mistake I see people make, is they start spam ganking on JARVAN. Do not do that. That is a very grief thing to do. JARVAN is a high economic champion. You need your gold so you can buy your items. You're especially with this build, you're very reliant on Eclipse and you're also very reliant on Sun and Sky. The faster you can get both of these items, the faster you win the game. Once you get these two items, you're Thanos, okay? So prioritize your clear. Do not prioritize maybe ganks. Only go for guaranteed ganks. Otherwise, remember, full clear. After your clear is done, you can go for whatever ganks you want, okay? Just make sure you're on time for the next clear. Full clear again, play for the objectives. Very important on JARVAN as well that you get the soul stacking early because your champion does somewhat rely on your team to dish out damage later on. Obviously, you can still carry games. I'm not saying you can't. In fact, JARVAN is one of the best carry junglers, right? But you are still somewhat reliant on your team. So you need to be smart in that area that you start soul stacking early so you don't have to rely on your team that much. You can still have an easy win con to play to, even if your team froze, which makes JARVAN one of the best junglers in the game. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about ganking, okay? I'm going to show you a sequence because I think this sequence has the two most important things you have to understand when it comes to ganking on JARVAN. And the first thing is that on JARVAN, because you're so mobile, you actually can come in from weird angles oftentimes, okay? So you can see here, I don't actually walk the tri-bush, I don't walk through here. actually walk through the tower because your dash is so long, it allows you to go for unusual gank angles. So you can see right here, what I actually do is I just go EQ, right? I know I'm out of range, so I do the EQ flash we talked about in the spell section. Remember the combo, which doesn't give out the damage but gives the CC, which is good enough here, right? All we need is CC. Jin and I can kill him. I have red buff, right? And you can see here, EQ flash, we kill him. So that's the first kill, okay? So the first kill, what I want you to understand here is two important things. Number one, when you're ganking, no matter what champion you're playing, always coming from behind. Why? Because if you're coming from behind, where can they go? Forward, right? Or else they're running into you. You're getting free DPS on them. Okay, so when you're ganking, first thing is you always want to come from behind. Second thing I want you to understand, on JARVAN, you can always come in from unusual angles because your dashes are so long and you do so much damage, okay? Now, let's look at the next sequence though, which I think is, again, very important on JARVAN, is that you're a very, very good dive champion here, okay? Now, here, sure, I'll just let the gank play out and you guys can see, right? Like, here, we're like, oh, what's this brother doing? Okay? I was like, no, let's kill this guy. We're not letting this guy do this for free. Okay, and obviously this is a challenger game, so this Alistar is really good, so he can just react to it, right? But the thing about JARVAN is, number one, the thing about this gank is sure, it's a 1-for-1. It's still very worth. Why? Kill and support compared to kill and AC. Also, I have no camps up, right? So, me dying here is... I don't lose anything for it because I have no camps up, you know. Actually one camp up, but my camps are just only respawning now. So dying here, I have to reset anyway. Right, I've got 1300 gold, so this stuff is good. But the main thing I want you to think about here is that on JARVAN, your champ is so good on diving that you should always go for these dives. These 1-for-1s, these 2-for-2s, they're always going to be worth if you're doing it when you have no camps up, okay? So that's a prerequisite, which is why I talk about in the early game, you want to full clear into gank, full clear into Drake, full clear into gank. So you can go for these plays where you're trading kills, except look, enemy team, they're missing this wave, right? So it's always going to be worth. Okay, now I want to show you a bad example. So how do you not want to gank on JARVAN? So I think this is a very good example to show how you shouldn't gank. Because if you look at the sequence here, right? What is the most important thing to do when you're ganking? It's not to come from like this. It's always to go from behind. Why? Because if you go from behind, again, people are running into you, right? Same logic we just talked about. So you always want to go from behind. Now I want to show you what the issue of coming from forward is. Okay, so you can see right here. I'm going to go over the wall here instead of going from behind, which is a bad mistake, right? So they're all running away. And here I tried to EQ flash, but obviously I do not have the range for this. This is never going to work, right? I never have the range to get this lockup. And you can see here, instead of getting 1 kill, I get 2. Instead of getting 2 kills, I only get 1, right? So, and if he had flash here, I probably wouldn't even get 1. So the thing is, the mistake made here is why never go from forward on JARVAN if you can. If you have the option to go from behind, why would you make life harder on yourself by going forward? Never do this. Always go from behind, okay? Now let me show you a good example of a gank. What is our logic? We're coming from behind, so they can't run away, right? We ult here. This ult is a little bit premature, I'd say. But the reason I do it is so, if you look here, the reason I do it is because I'm hoping this Nico would still be walking up, so I get a 2-man ult here, okay? Now, you can see this is a challenger game, right? So these players are obviously really good, right? They min-max everything. So he knows, you can see he does a click back to dodge it, which is very smart of him, obviously. But here, we make the Nunu flash and we kill the Nico, right? So this is just a very stereotypical gank from behind. It's just kind of how you want to play JARVAN, right? Again, same logic here. I mean, you can... By the way, one thing on JARVAN that people do not do enough is you can often, if you can see here and this kill is secured and you just want an assist, just throw your flag down around. If you throw your flag down around your team, you're just going to assist very easily, even though you don't do anything here. Now, why is it important to do that? Because you have precision. So you want to stack your precision stacks, triumph alacrity stacks, and also you want to get your free boots faster. Here I already have my free boots, so it doesn't matter as much, but you want to get those free stacks on precision. Also, you want to get that gold and XP. So it's very important just to, whenever there's a free kill, you know, just check down your flag, get a little bit close to your team, right? Just to get that assist. You don't need to actually join in the fight, right? You can see here I'm already moving on to the next play, which is an invade. But I just throw down the flag for my assist. And that's a very important thing to learn about on JARVAN. It's very, very helpful, especially in the early game. A mid-game mistake people often make is they often play JARVAN way too aggressive and they get caught. You have to understand that on JARVAN, you have to be the one engaging. If you're not, if you use your cooldowns recklessly, you get punished. So first I want to see, I'll show you an example of this. So you can just see here, when I'm not the one engaging, look, I'm just hitting the Drake here, trying to flip the Drake realistically, right? Because he's doing the Drake. And I don't commit my EQ for damage. Look, I'm EQing for the Drake. What happens is, right now, look how easy I die. Like, I die super easily, right? Like, there's nothing I can do. I'm just dead, right? When you use your cooldowns recklessly, you get punished for it. However, what you should instead do, instead of doing this, is you have to be very methodical. Play well around vision, right? play smart around your wards, especially your E allows you a face check, right? You don't need to play too stupid. You're not going to get caught a lot on Jarvan if you use your E to face check, right? What you want to do is you will always want to be the one engaging. So if we just fast forward here, you'll see that when I'm the one engaging, right? Look at how easy this is. Look at my damage. Look at me and obviously Aurora did a lot there, but look at my damage just on the Rakan there, right? That's a lot of damage, right? If he was to jump, I would have just ulted, I would have just followed up, right? So you have to understand that when you're the one engaging on Jarvan, your CC and your burst damage with this build is so insanely high. I didn't even have Sun Sky here. Like, you guys don't see. Actually, you guys do see. I had 1800 gold here. That's without Sun Sky. Imagine if I base and I had Sun Sky here. It would be a complete one-shot, okay? So when you play around Vision with Jarvan, is way significantly easier. Okay, another thing I want to talk about in the mid game with Jarvan is the way you skirmish, okay? One thing you have to be very smart about is being patient with both your EQ and your ult at different times. Okay, so I want to show you an example here of being patient with your ult and how it pays off. So you can see here I EQ in, we chunk the Kiana. This is pretty good fight so far, but they have Tarek ult, so we have to play slow, right? And you can see here, I have ult. I could ult the tomb, I could ult the Tristan and the Tarek there, but I don't like that, right? You need to wait for a good opportunity to ult. So you can see here, on Jarvan, by the way, you always want to focus the first target. Just like any other champion, you never want to dive in too deep into the backline. Always want to focus the first target. So you can see here, we get the Tarek low, right? Now that I know he's guaranteed dead, and I don't want to let him auto me and heal off me, I ult the Kiana. This way, I separate. This ult does a lot of things. Number one, it separates Kiana from the fight. He can no longer do anything. It also allows me to kill Kiana, right? Because I'll be able to get him. It also stops Tarek from hitting me. And also, you see how it bridges, it separates them. This disrupts the way they want to play the fight. They want to play in unison, this just disrupts that, right? So you can see here, I only really ult after I'm sure the first target is dead. So here you can see the first target's dead, right? And then, boom, we get 2 kills there. So being patient with my ult there is very smart. And you can see here, right? He knows I can Q him. So he's trying to sidestep the Q. And then what do? I just walk up to him and auto him. Right? So sometimes you don't always have to use your flag and drag too aggressively. Just be smart with it, right? A lot of times holding it is even better. So here, I mean, obviously I didn't have it actually, but if you look here, like if I throw it here and I miss, he can just jump away. So oftentimes holding it is better, because it just makes it easier. You know, don't need to flip landing the Q or landing the EQ if you don't have to. If you can just walk up and hit him, and if this guy thinks he's faker and he's trying to sidestep that shit, just walk up and hit him. You know, it does the same thing. Okay, so another little combo or little mid-game trick I want to teach you guys about is actually something we talked about in the spell section, which is ulting someone and EQing out. So you can see here, this doesn't actually work out because of my Alistar Griefs, as you're about to see, but I want to show you guys, I just want to demonstrate how you play this. Okay, so you can see here, I ult to buffer the Talia knockup, right? And once they're all focusing me here, I insta EQ out, right? And here, realistically, what the hell is my Alistar doing? He just headbutts him to me, so I die, right? But the way I play that is legit perfect. So what you want to do oftentimes is if you, let's say, this guy's a free pick here, right? Because you can see my Corki is moving from bot lane. My ult will trap this guy here, so my Alistar can just kill him very easily, right? And you can see here, I auto EQ, I get the EQ damage off. And right now, I should be untouchable from everyone but the Nico, right? The only person that should be able to touch me is the Nico here with her auto attacks because she has no Q, right? But, I mean, obviously, Alistar had this guy over, so I die. But the intention is still correct, right? So what you want to do a lot of times in the mid game is you want to ult someone that's out of position, which in this case was Nika, right? Look, she's very far out of position here. Alistar can follow, Corking can follow. And then what you want to do is, if you're in danger as well, don't be, use the fact that you have a dash to your advantage. Nika has no dash, so he just griefed, right? So use the fact that you have a dash to get yourself to a safe position, then just get the free pick. Obviously, it didn't work out here, but again, that's kind of the mindset you want to have in the mid game. Okay, as talked about before, Jarvan is a high econ champion in the mid game. So how do you want to play out the macro in the mid game? Well, in my opinion, from my experience, I think there are 3 things you want to focus on Jarvan in the mid game. Okay, the first thing is clearing. Okay, you need your Eclipse and Sky to really unleash your full potential. So if you don't clear, you're kind of neglecting it, right? And a lot of people, this is the biggest mistake people make, no matter what champion they're playing, especially on Jarvan, is they start spamming ganks. You're not always going to get ganks. Remember my saying, ganks are a privilege, they're not guaranteed. What is guaranteed, boys? Guaranteed is the full clear, okay? So I'm not one of those guys that says full clear, full clear, full clear, but on Jarvan, I'm gonna say it, full clear, okay? You want to make sure you get that Eclipse and Sky as soon as possible. So what does that mean? What does that entail? Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then make a play. Now, I'm not stupid. I understand sometimes you have to adapt. Not every game is going to be so NPC, so robotic like, where you go for a full clear and then you make a play. That's always going to happen. Okay, so I will give you this one condition. If there's a free kill, go for that free kill. Okay, let's say if after your wolves you see this guy's inting, and you can just go EQ ultimate and get that and land that free little plus 300 gold. Go for it. I'm not telling you not to do that. But if there is no guaranteed kill, make sure you clear first, because you need that Eclipse on the Sky. You need that gold to get that item. Very, very important. Okay. Second thing I want you to focus on, Jarvan. Again, very important. We're talking about objectives. Okay. So objectives are really, really important because you want to have that soul win con, and outside of soul, what other objective spawns in the mid game? But ding, 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 Herald. Okay, so Herald is really important on Jarvan. Why is Herald very important? I want you guys to think about why is that Herald very important? Because what does Herald give you? It gives you kills on tower, right? Kills on tower, what does that give you? Freaking gold. Okay, so imagine you just get the Herald and drop it on the side lane tier 2. That's 700 gold closer to your next item, whether it be Eclipse or Sun's. Oh, okay, well, it's going to be Sun Sky, right? Because you already have Eclipse at this point. But 700 gold closer to your item is really, really important. So, how do we want to play around these objectives? Do we want to prioritize the objectives or our clear? Very important, right? We've got two clashing ideologies here. Well, I'll say this. You want to prioritize both. How do you balance that? Okay, so I will say, when you're playing Jarvan, make sure to try to kill as many camps as you can before your objective, okay? If you have to skip one camp for your objective, do that. Don't skip more than 2 camps. That's really, really bad to do that, because then you're just kind of neglecting yourself. You're sacrificing yourself. If you don't get the objective, you're kind of going to be way further behind the enemy jungle, which is not a position you want to be on Jarvan. Jarvan is a good champion when it comes to playing from behind. However, you don't want to be behind when you don't have your Eclipse Sundered, okay? That's kind of annoying. You want to make sure you don't mind playing from behind when you have Eclipse Sundered, but until then, you don't really want to be behind, okay? You're still an early game, mid-game-ish champion, so to throw that lead away is not great, okay? So you want to be there for objectives. I will say between Drakes and Heralds, which one do I prioritize? Drakes are great and they do give you a win con. However, Herald is way too important in giving you that 2-item spike, that 1-2 punch. So I'll still prioritize the Herald. I just think Herald is super neglected, super broken on Jarvan. Just in jungle, just in the game in general, I think Herald is extremely broken and often neglected and underestimated. So I'll say prioritize these Heralds. Try to use those Heralds to take down the mid tower, either mid tier 1 or the side lane tier 2s, because the side lane tier 2s give the most gold. Mid lane tier 1 gives you the most control of the map, so it allows you to go for invades after that, which is very, very important. Now, we talked about balancing 3 things. What is the third thing I want you to think about in the mid game on Jarvan? Well, very simple. It's dives, okay? So, on Jarvan, I think something people often don't do enough is they do not dive enough. Why is Jarvan good at diving, okay? Think about reason why Jarvan is good at diving compared to other champions is because he has, number 1, he has a dash, right? He has insane mobility. Number 2, he has very good burst with your build, right? With Eclipse Sundered, even if you just have Eclipse, your burst is very high. And the third thing is you have a lot of lockdown. You have 2 sets of lockdown on your champion, okay? So what that means is often when you go for dives, you can actually just ult. Let's say if they have no dashes, right? You can just ult, hit them a few times and EQ out from turret range and let your team just kill the 1 HP target, right? So your dive potential is super, super massive. So make sure you do go for these dives on the side lane. Okay, unfortunately, I don't really have a great clip where I can show you guys of me diving, but I think this is a good enough example to kind of show you how you want to play out the dives. And the key important when it comes to diving in Jarvan is doing the thing correct. Same as late game, same as every part in the game on Jarvan. Patience with your abilities, okay? So you can see here, Ezreal has E, Ezreal has Flash, okay? So look at how I play the dive. So I EQ in, right? And it's fine to do that because on Jarvan, why it's fine to EQ in? Because if they have E, you can always ult, right? So it doesn't matter if they have a dash, you can always follow up with your ult, except unless they have 2 dashes, right? So that's the main thing. So here, I don't ult because why? I'm saving my ult just so if he ever dashes, I can ult on top of it, right? So the thing that's important on Jarvan is you never blow your load insta. Don't just blow your full damage load here, right here. Because if you have dashes, then you're cooked, right? Imagine if he E's down here and I ult him, and then I can still flash out, and my Kai'Sa can just ult him because he's trapped, right? It's super, super easy to play like that. So the key importance when it comes to diving in Jarvan is do not use your abilities right away, right? You can ult, you can either lead with ult or lead with EQ. Both are fine, like here, for example, right? Here I could just walk up. Realistically, what I could have done, which would have been better, is just walk up, ult, and then EQ out, right? The thing is, I'm feeling a bit pressured here because my Rakan is 1 HP, so if I don't EQ in, he can just E down, kill my Rakan, and he's dead, right? The better way to play it, Rakan would not be running in with 1 HP. That's the first thing. Second thing is I would lead with ult and then EQ out, then it's a guaranteed kill, right? Like here I'm taking more turret shots than I should be, right? Realistically. So that's kind of the way you should play it. Just pace with your abilities, then diving will be super easy. Yeah, another clip I want to show you about mid-game team fighting is actually in this clip. So this is kind of what I talk about. So one of the main things you want to do on JARVAN is, let's see right here, okay? So what I do here is you'll see here, once the cogball shows. So see the cogball? When you have an immobile target on JARVAN, you're always looking on them, okay? That's who you're always focusing, the immobile target. Usually it's the ADC, sometimes it's an enchanter support like a Janna or a Karma. That's also very common, right? But you want to focus that guy. So how do I play this sequence out? Remember, I told you the best thing you can do on JARVAN isn't actually to EQ and an ult. That's bad. Why? Because if you're doing this, you're committing fully in there. You have no escape. There's nothing different between you and Volibear if you do that, right? You're just too susceptible to danger. Instead, what you should do is you should R and EQ out. So you can see right here. So I see this guy's walking up out of position, right? I have Shen ult on me. And then as soon as all three of them are lined up, you have to be patient here, right? You have to be patient to wait for all three of them to line up. Then you go EQ out. What does this do? It does multiple things. First, it traps both Alistar and Kog'Maw into this cataclysm where they have no escape, right? Neither of them have dashes. Second thing, it allows me to get a 3-man knockup for my upcoming follow-up, okay? So you can see here, 3-man knockup. They're still trapped. Look, Kog'Maw cannot dodge the Shen Yi. He's just stuck there, right? It's free kill. And we win the fight just off the sequence, right? So we legit win the fight off that entry of ult into EQ. And this is why it's so strong to play like this. When you play EQ into ult, you have to make sure that's a winning fight. Here, this is what wins the fight, you know? That's the difference. So EQ ult is you kind of following up on the one fight. Here, you win the fight. You trap their immobile champions and you hit a 3-man EQ. Patience with the EQ is important here, but also more important than that, entering with your ult. Entering with your ult, engaging with your ult is probably the best way you can play fights usually. So try to do that more often. Okay, I know I've shown a lot of clips on JARVAN, and I just want to share one more in the mid-game skirmishing, just a tip on JARVAN you can use. So you can see here I only have one item, right? Now, here, because Corki is so far away, he just W'd, right? We knew he just W'd, you didn't see this, but he just W'd. I know I can EQ ult to close the gap. You can see what I do here is pretty important. I think it's a good mechanic you can learn on JARVAN. So what I do is I ult him, right? And I make him, I kind of, what do you call it? Entice him to walk like this, because I walk in here, right? He wants to gain some separation. I walk here, he walks here, okay? Now, what that does is actually I'm doing that intentionally, because what we'll do here is I'll walk to here and then Q back in, so I get a knock up on him. So even though I used my EQ to gap close, right? And ult to get in, to CC him, I'm going to actually use my flag position to my advantage. So you can see here, I walk behind him to get another knock up on him, right? So it didn't get a knock up initially, but what you can always do in JARVAN is you can EQ, right? And let's say if the person is going to stand and fight you, then you can run behind them, then Q in again to CC him. So it's just a very good mechanic you can learn on JARVAN. And paying attention to where your flag is very, very important. Because here you can see I only have one item, right? If I have more than one item, if you have two items and have more CDR, you can do this even more often. You can do this, yeah, just way more. It's way more prevalent. But even after one item, you can still do it. It's a good mechanic to learn on JARVAN. Okay, now let's talk about the hardest part of the game to navigate on JARVAN, and that is the late game. How do you want to play at the late game in JARVAN? And to be honest, it's not really that dissimilar from the mid game. One key difference, okay? So you still want to play for objectives heavily. You still want to play heavily for objectives. You want that soul stacking, you want that Baron, you want that everything. You want to play heavily, right? Second thing, you still want to dive the side lanes, okay? This is still very important. Difference is the third thing. Do you still want to farm all the time? And the answer is no. Now, when we get into the late game, you already have your Eclipse Sun and Sky. Those are your two most important items. Any item you get on top of that is a bonus. It's great to have. Is it necessary? No. So what should you do is you should play more for these two things than your farm. Okay, your farm is still important. Don't get me wrong, farm is still important. These two are just way more important, okay? So why are they more important? How can we sacrifice farm to get better conditions for the other two? Okay, so the first thing is, I want to talk about Drakes. I want to talk about objectives, okay? So how do you balance farming and objectives compared to the mid game and the late game? Like from the late game compared to the mid game, okay? So in the mid game, what I told you guys is you want to do the bulk majority of your camps always, right? Even if it means you're a little bit late to Dragon, if you can do the bulk majority of your camps, it's worth it. In the late game, that's untrue, okay? In the late game, when you get to the 5th or the 4th Drake, this is when the Drakes get important, okay? So this is when I would say skipping, let's say 3 or even 4 camps to be at the objective 40 seconds to 50 seconds earlier is worth it, so you can get the setup, so you make them come into you, where they face check you, you can punish them, okay? So I would say in the late game, it's very important that you be at the objectives early, so you can be there for setup, so you can punish the face checks. So if that means you have to skip a few more camps to do so, that's completely fine, okay? Second thing is In the late game, I want you guys to be very, very careful, okay? Again, just like in the mid game, I want you guys to play around your strong suit. So let's say if your strong suit is your top laner who's now situated in bot lane, I want you guys to make sure you're always popping into him. If your strong suit is your mid laner, I want to make sure you guys are always popping into him bot to top, right? So it just depends. If you look at the map, right? If your strong side is top lane, then you want to pop towards top side. If your strong side is bot lane, you want to pop towards bot side. At the end of that, you always want to be there to make a play. Oftentimes, it's going to be a dive. Oftentimes, it's going to be a gank, right? It just depends on what's given to you. Now, the way you want to play it isn't that you want to full clear into it, right? You want to make sure that you're looking top lane or you're looking bot lane. Let's say if you're popping to top lane. Okay, let's just make it easy. Let's say if we're popping to top lane this game, our mid laner is strong and he's situated on the top side, right? When you're on your third camp, when you're on this, right? Let's say you do 1, 2, 3, right? I want you to already be looking at top lane. And if you see a good opportunity to run straight up there and ignore these camps, go for it. Getting a kill with the late game is very important. It's going to be more important than your free camps. Your free camps are not going to win you the game. The top lane kill is, okay? So make sure that you skip camps for both objectives and dives or skirmishes, good plays. Then you'll be fine in the late game. That's all you really need to think about. That's different in the mid game, right? Farm is still important, just not as important because you already have your spikes. So here, this is when, in my opinion, the late game on Jarvan is when Eclipse Sun and Sky comes online, when you have it, right? How do you play fights? How strong are you? How do you want to approach it? Okay, so let's just give it a quick little glimpse here. So you can see here, we run in, okay, we run in with Herald, right? And I'm gonna be honest, Azap don't be respecting your boy. So what do? We just go on him. Just that simple. If people disrespect you, go on him. Now, very important here, you can see I used the mechanic. So you can actually buffer knockups, stuns, whatever, with your EQ. So you can see here, I know I'm gonna get knocked up here. You can see, I can see the Talia thing. And I use the fact I'm gonna get knocked up, that I already buffer my EQ before I get knocked up. So here, it actually goes through. So I get close enough to him to just land the ult, and we kill him, okay? And you can see here, I'm actually in a lot of danger, but see how broken the Eclipse Sun Sky is here, okay? So watch this. Right? They get so much damage off of me, like they're all hitting me, right? Sun Sky proc on the clone. Right? I'm 1 HP now. This guy throws his Q on me, I should die here. No. I go back in, I proc Sun Sky on the Vayne. Boom. Okay, I should die here again. And I'm like, no, I don't die. You know, so that's kind of how strong Eclipse Sun Sky is in this game. You just cannot die if you can play mechanically well enough, if you can hit enough targets. So that's kind of how you should approach it. You should be very aggressive, but make sure you hit them. Make sure you apply the Eclipse, right? Make sure that when you're fighting, you're not just aimlessly fighting and hoping Eclipse comes up. Look at your items, right? Look at when this is coming off cooldown and apply it well. And also the Sun Sky, whenever you can get it on someone and you're low, make sure you actually do use it and not just hit the same target, right? The strength in Jarvan is altering multiple people, right? Because that's the way your passive works here. That's how you get maximum DPS off, is when you alter multiple people. So but you get your passive on multiple people, right? Passive off on multiple people. You can see here, one person, right? That was auto minion. We don't talk about that. Come on now. 2 people, right? That's how you want to play. You want to use your passive often. You want to proc the Sun Sky often. Okay, now finally I want to show you one more example of the late game, which is how you want to play the late game on Jarvan. And this is very simple. It's just patience with your EQ. So you can see here I ult for the trap on 2 people, on the Rel and the Graves, right? Knowing that the Rel has no dash, right? I let my ult down now that Rel flashes. You can see here, I have my EQ up. I don't throw it. I have my EQ up. I don't throw it. I wait for them all to be lined up. You see how now they're all lined up, right? I cancel the Ornn ult as well. I get a 3-man knockup. And look at the way I auto it here. Get 2 fat. I guess you get 3 fat auto attacks here. You can see I hit the Graves once, hit the Kai'Sa once, and I hit the Ornn once. This way, I somehow don't die here. When realistically here, I'm so deep into their position, they should just be able to one-shot me. But because, look, they dropped their full combo on me, it doesn't matter. Because I hit so many different people with Sundered Sky, with Eclipse, that actually managed to live. Not only that, I also get major DPS down because I'm altering multiple people with my passive. So I'm getting a lot of stuff done there just by focusing on different targets. And that's kind of how you want to play Jarvan, honestly. It's just, again, the main hacks with the mid and late game, you just be patient with your abilities, EQ and ult. You have to be patient with these 3, then you'll be chilling. You'll be hard chilling. Make sure you alter multiple targets. That's how you want to play the fights. And yeah, that's just super, super easy. And again, the reason why this build is so good is because it synergizes well with your passive, right? With Sundered Sky, you want to auto multiple targets. With your passive, you also want to auto multiple targets. So that's just perfect synergy with the two, attributes. It just works perfect for Jarvan. That's how you win games. Okay, thank you everyone for watching the video. Hopefully I was able to teach you something new about Jarvan. If you did enjoy it, do click the like and subscribe button. It does help a lot. Join the Discord as well, and make sure you watch me on Twitch. Now I've got a few things I want to shout out to you guys. If you guys want to learn how to play jungle, I have a jungle guide on my channel. Do give that a watch. It will help you a lot with your macro. If you're having macro mistakes, it will help you a lot. If you're having issues with overextending in team fights, it will help you a lot. Also, I have a few Jarvan VODs out there already. So if you want to give that a look to see how I play Jarvan in the full, complete game, you can also give that a watch. Love you all, and peace. We're out of here.